All right, guys, we're back.
I forgot.
So it is officially the end of No Fix November.
Yeah.
By a day.
Yeah.
So the smoke is cleared.
People have not died.
This has been a very interesting month for me.
Isn't it?
However, it was a not very interesting first 3 weeks for me. 2.5.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Explain that, because your timeline was very interesting.
When did we talked about this? So when I was about maybe in the middle of that bit where I was like, my sleep's a little weird. You know what I mean? Like
especially the first week.
I'm trying to remember the update episode we had done. Was it a week in or 2 weeks in? Maybe a week.
2 weeks in?
Yeah, something like
2
that.
2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks.
But so what happened for me was we did, probably, it was 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. But I was like, I was dying tired. I was going to bed.
Right, I remember.
1 to 2 hours earlier, which to me, it felt to me like more like, I'm just tired now. It's because I need the caffeine.
At 9 o'clock at night, right? Yeah.
Like eliminating booze was not going to be like a day-to-day crisis for me. It was like a, what am I supposed to do when I want to have fun type thing, you know?
How am I supposed to talk to my wife?
Yes.
Not you, but in general.
Yeah. Like, how am I supposed to enjoy being around my friends?
Exactly.
Like, what kind of friends do you have?
That's going to be the podcast in general. But
And but what ended up happening was then my energy started to come up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Not rapidly, but just a little bit. And I remember I messaged you after probably 5 days from day about 10 to day 15. Mm-hmm. I had getting up with the nutrition protocol, waking up sometimes pretty well rested and awake at 2:33 in the morning was pretty common for me. And so I would kind of like do what most people do when they first get on the protocol. They stress about it.
Yeah.
Like, I got to get back to bed. Which ain't the way to get back
How come I'm not sleeping? Which does not help.
And I did some reading and some looking into it. Matter of fact, in the middle of the night for a few of those nights.
Exactly.
Where that was actually kind of a way that things always had been. And we'll get into that in a later episode on circadian rhythms.
Anthropology 101.
Yeah. But like that was pretty common. And so I had told you, I said, you know what? When I do this, I wake up and I feel good when I wake up. It's winter now. It's darker later anyways. I'm not losing a bunch of light. And now that without the caffeine, I'm going to bed earlier. Well, there's no way I'm going to sleep from 9 p.m. until 9 a.m. when it gets light out again.
But that's a good point, because here, for example, it's dark at 5.
Yeah.
And then it's the sun, it starts to get light at 8.
Yeah.
You're not going to sleep that whole time.
No.
So, but anthropology, I remember reading about that like years back, saying like middle of the night, most hunter-gatherers would just have sex, eat, like literally have part of the day in the middle. Yeah. They sleep 4 hours-ish. Wake up, do stuff for an hour or two, and then go back to bed. That was
I remember, like
stuff.
my grandparents, great-grandparents growing up on the farm in the middle of nowhere. I don't even know if it was I don't think my great-grandparents even had electricity or running water, So like at that time, way back when, sometimes you had to get up because there was a fire that kept you warm. Meaning you get up and now you go stoke that fire and you get in or you shovel whatever it is into the fucking furnace that you do back then. Sometimes
it doesn't freeze.
Back in my family was actually, they were so poor that after the first winter in South Dakota, everybody who had any money to leave left. And they were just, because I asked my grandpa, why did we stay here? From Germany, you end up in here and you stay here. And he was like, we were too poor to go any further. But they were burning like cow shit in the furnace because it was the only thing that wasn't covered in snow. Yeah. But anyway, you'd get up in the middle of the night and you'd have to stoke the fire and stuff like that. And so it was common. So I was like, I'm just going to stop fighting it though. I'm going to kind of embrace it that when I wake up, I'm just going to be up. Yep. And it was maybe 3 or 4 days of that where it was just a continuation of the same thing, but I was just accepting of it. And then by then it was 3 weeks of no caffeine, no carbs, no sugar. And all of a sudden I had a problem to solve. It was a work thing. We were working out some things. And my brain just clicked. And it was like...
actually worked.
And it was like, boom. But it was this different... it was a different thing because I wasn't just like, hey, I have a good idea. I have another idea. It was like, I have an idea. It's too abstract. Map it out. All these possibilities.
Started making it.
Look at it. And then I'm like, okay. And this went on for... until today.
Yeah. A week straight, basically.
Exactly. 7 straight
still
days.
going at it. Yeah.
Which then I built 2, really comprehensive systems and things.
The biggest difference being the production.
Production. Yeah.
Like the production is up by 1,000%.
And I didn't understand it when you said it. in the beginning or months ago, even with the protocol stuff, because I just assumed that you were special. You know what I mean?
That has been said before.
Well, there is something.
Not always in a good way, but
yeah. I mean, but there is something to it where like you do operate a little bit differently than most people. You think differently, and I'm like, all right, that works really well for Julian. I'm like, great. So does a lot of things.
Yes. That doesn't mean everybody else is going to get it.
So I was like, but Julian just is more productive than me. That's what I thought. Or Julian just is more focused. Yeah. That's not how it really works. No. It's like you have all the other things that give you the capability to choose to do. But it was very interesting. I also had noticed it was the stimulant was the main thing for me.
For me as well.
I had no fucking idea that the little bit of coffee I was having in a day.
You know that's what surprised me the most out of the comments on the StrongFit community. By the way, not just that. Let me rephrase. Out of me.
Yeah.
And then seeing the same effect on other people, how much like one espresso is a 10-hour thing where you're like this. And I was like, so because now I'm looking back at my life going, dude, it was 5 double a day on a regular basis. And I'm like, man, like.
By the way, have you ever, I'm sure you've heard, the stories with Richard's caffeine consumption from way long ago?
Oh, yeah.
Dea was telling me, I'll save that for Richard to talk about, but holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
No, we went to.
And then he said he cut cold turkey for 30 days just because she was worried about him, and he did it. It wasn't even a problem.
No, but him
he's wired differently.
Yeah, it's like everything has to be triple. Like painkillers at the hospital, they had to double the dosage, and he never got addicted or stuff like that. So he's a bit different. But yeah, we used to go to the coffee shop, and he was like. And you just, on rotation. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think they would only give him like 8 shots of espresso in one drink because they
say more than that. Because you might
so
die.
So you would do it twice.
Because you might die or stuff like that. No, but I think that brings up the question about the conversation about caffeine. I believe this is, in that sense, a very underrated stimulant.
Yeah.
In the sense that everybody knows it's a stimulant and it's everybody's favorite stimulant. I don't think people understand the strength of it. Yeah. I'm sure it's been studied and everything, but that sounds to me a little bit like when you used to say asbestos is not a big deal. Yeah. I'm not comparing the two. That's not what I mean. But by that, I mean it's like, caffeine is a stimulant, don't have too much. I think that too much needs to be redefined on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's, people come back with a lot of studies that will they say that caffeine is, I'm like, yeah, but are they studying people that did not take any caffeine forever?
No, but for example,
there's a lot of gaps in those
maybe they're not studying caffeine where it should be studied. For example, what if it has to do with the heart?
Or what if the markers that you're looking for are only like the wrong shit? Because
yes, exactly.
What my output was this week and the way that I felt my brain works, I don't know how you're going to measure that.
Right.
Especially predictively.
Exactly. That's very true. How do you measure
How do you design something thinking that that's going to be the outcome?
Right. And how do you measure suddenly the fact that you're not procrastinating anymore?
Yeah. Or that I simply feel better. Like, it was very interesting. It's hard. I'm just going to describe it as I describe it. Yep. Right. So I always worked in a way, like I've just said before, like almost like a bit of a chaos, like a kind of an ADD thing. I'm all over the place. What I always noticed though is if I had some shit I didn't want to do, like some invoicing or getting through my emails or just like gonna buckle down and edit through podcast videos or do a bunch of stuff. The only way I could not just be with that stuff is I'd have some coffee and I would focus on the task at hand. Which how much does that differ aside from in magnitude of the substance? How much does that differ from giving a kid Ritalin? You're giving them an amphetamine or a stimulant to narrow their focus and speed them up in that direction. And what I found was that if I wasn't on any of those stimulants, is that then that way that I work, while it's imperfect, it works for me.
Yep.
And it really works. And so I was still able to do kind of all my other work while essentially designing and building for days. Just, and I got so much shit done and back and forth. I was driving Julian nuts. Now it was me messaging him at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, he did actually. I was like, oh, it's on. It's back on. The door is open.
I said, just so you know, it's 7 a.m. and I think I have a good idea.
I was like, dude, you define the rules of engagement. If you want to do it that way, I'm cool. Yeah.
So, but it was interesting because I thought that the way that I worked growing up
was incorrect.
It's incorrect. I was always Tyler, you need to the amount of times I was told by teachers, parents, or school administrators that I needed to get an assignment notebook as a child, so you could write down your planner. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I got bought one that got used for 2 to 3 days at a time with basically a figurative gun to my head. That happened 50 times in my childhood. Yeah, and I was just like, but that's not the way.
But yeah, that was me in school.
And so, but how much of now, when I think of those things, that how much, if I could have thought and processed and problem solved and been able to chase things all the way to the end, my whole life like I did this week. Yeah. I either would be a total fucking madman, but maybe in like a brilliant way. But either way, it would be me. And I felt like all the times that I ever was doing things that are work, I was doing them like someone else's way.
But by the way, the biggest difference though, because I've seen you for the last 10 days like that, is, as you say, it's chasing to the end.
Yeah.
You go to the end and back, and then you redo it, and then you redo it, and then you do it again.
And I am not a circle completer.
Exactly.
Normally. Like statistically speaking.
I know, that's the same thing for me.
Yeah.
It was the same thing for me.
And I think there's always going to be projects and things that are maybe a type that are going to be, you're going to get the thing rolling and let it go. But for some of these where we're outlining just larger concepts, it's like, I need to just go boom. And but the minutia, the detail, the constant refining, that's not how I work as I have worked lately or for the last 20 years.
Yeah. But it's like, someone will finish it.
But it is how, I mean, I'm not that, but that chaos, the everything, and we go, and that's how I figure out lots of options. That is how I work. And you said this last month about how you felt like yourself.
Yep.
And when I was putting those things together, I was like, this is me.
That's how I do it.
And I can, and I told my wife even, I said, this is so strange, but I feel like I got a part of myself back, and I don't understand.
And we heard that many times.
Yeah.
So what I found fascinating is that in order to complete tasks, in order to have more energy toward production, you need to take the stimulants out.
Yeah.
I think that's why, like that. How do you study that? Why would you study taking stimulants out to increase production?
Then what are you going to do with the fact that there's 3 weeks of see?
Yeah.
Like, by the way, see, you're taking a shit. Dude,
by the way, that too. But even like, why would you start a project? If you're in an academic situation, you have papers to write, you have deadline to meet, you have to produce, right? Why would you start? You have managers on top of you, like a thesis for PhD. You have to submit it to your mentor for him to say that's a good idea or not. Yeah. Why would you start a study that says, in order to increase production, I'm gonna stop stimulants? People would be like, you wrote that wrong.
Timing,
you wrote that wrong. It's the opposite. Like, you increase stimulants, because everything we read about stimulants is it gives you more energy, more this, more that. And here's I think the biggest issue we have with science and with the way we study human beings is exactly that. If you take the chemical reaction outside of time and you do it in a 10-minute, of course, caffeine gives you more energy, but that's the thing. What kind of energy? Why does it give you energy? Is it hardware with the software? And what happens over time? And none of this is studied with caffeine.
Plus, it is true, like, is all energy, just having more volume, more amplitude, is that good?
Right. So all energy is a louder music a better music?
Yeah.
Right. Because but none of this is studied.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to study that in the old school way of doing things, because it's like, the music is louder. Yeah. Therefore, it's more music. Yeah. A louder music is more music. Yeah, but we never defined if it was better music.
Plus, if you don't, I mean, if you see the way that I work, I'm just being me, it's the way that I work, it's just the way it is. But like, the reason that I think these things are so into the system that we have, everybody eats carbs, everybody has those things, is that what if it does just kind of makes you more productive for the system?
Or
because generally a system is always going to feed itself, and I don't mean it's malicious or conspiratorial.
No, but it's a matrix. I don't call it productive, but I would say because we explained to the sympathetic and everything, but you are far more reactive, therefore you are far more obedient. I don't think the stimulants make you give you more production. I think they just make you more obedient, which means
where I'm at, because I could focus and do task A through C, A, B, C, D, right there. I could do that, the way I would work before. Get some coffee
but
and off to it.
Your way, the way you've been told.
And here's the thing: is the way that I do it now, and that is the way I've been told. A, B, C, D. Oh fuck! I got to do A, B, C, D. Here we go. And the way that I work is I do C, and then I look at Q, and then T, and then I'm like R, S, T, U, V, W,
but that's constraint.
Yeah, but because I'm just kind of playing where I want to be, I'm always where I want to be. I'm always doing what I want to do. And I haven't been allowed to work this way, really.
But remember, if you were in a factory, you couldn't.
Correct. And but what I mean is it means I don't have 35 years of getting better at it.
Yes.
Which is like, if I do know that if this is what I can do, just like with the flip of a switch, if I get 35 years of honing whatever this skill, whatever this part is that I do, like I'd be fucking untouchable at what I do for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
you'll be you.
And what everybody, I think that is looking for a job or education or all those places where people need to fall in line and do their thing like that, it becomes
Okay, but the world is not the same though. So I agree with what you're saying, but I think that mentality is not your mentality. Like the system where it comes from is it comes from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. This is 1850, where the Industrial Revolution is starting to take place, like it's starting to roll. So what do? You need to pull people from the farms, from everywhere, and pull them into a city where they can basically come and work at the factory. That means you need to create schools to put the kids out there because they're not on the farm. And we need to turn the kids into little soldiers for the factory anyway. Yeah. That's the system that was built in 1815. That's what the school system objective base is. That was the beginning of the age of obedience through technology. Yeah. Right? That's where it started. So that back then the mentality was that. And I would love to be able to study the rise of mouth breathing in human society.
To see where the trend is.
Yeah. And the amount of carbs and caffeine being absorbed around the Industrial Revolution. Like to see the eating habits, how it started that more food, and I bet you we would see more and more carbs and caffeine and stuff like that. Yeah, I would love to see that because to me, for what we've seen from the No Fix November and everything, that's what the roles of stimulants are. They actually not to give you more energy, they are to make you more reactive, more obedient to the system, to the matrix. Yeah. So to me, the carbs, the sugar, the caffeine, the booze, all that stuff, those are what the blue pills are made of.
Yeah. And for me, chasing down all those possibilities in the way I work is about, what works for me is I end up finding you have so much potential exposure to things like a black swan idea, like boom, exactly. And then go and boom.
That's how they happen, though.
And so this thing of like narrow your vision, get some coffee, narrow your vision, sit at your desk, get your pen, and
get back to the factory.
It's like
but the world has changed.
It's like how much opportunity do you have then to get yourself into figuring out
those opportunities back then they didn't exist because you were in the factory. Right? Rich people did not send their kids to school. They had tutors.
And by the nature of the way capitalism works, economics works,
always been
you and me and Yaya here can each have $20 million ideas. Right? However, all 7 billion people on this earth can't because of the way the value proposition plays out. That's not how this works. So the system is always going to then try to shift into we can have some black swan people that are flying out there that are being really billionaires, millionaires that are boom, this big uprising success, but that's not for everybody.
That's not for everybody. But the difference now is that opportunity exists for everybody. Whereas before it exists for only a very small part of the population, whereas now it exists for everyone. Now that being said, not everyone will have the opportunity, but it exists for everyone as a group. So that's why I think the impact of for example, how come if that's true, no one figured it out before. But that's the thing, in the world we live in now, you can work like that and still be productive because of the internet, because of what we do, because of small companies like we have. That was not possible 30 years ago, where corporations were leading everything and there was no internet, there was no communication possible between, for example, you and I. You would not be able to survive on No Fix November in that old job.
No,
but now in this one, so that's why I think we've seen in the StrongFit community a lot, is people saying, literally, my production has gone up. What I want to say is that your production has gone up because now you're being you. That's the difference.
You're not working the way, you're not doing the things that someone should tell you to do.
You're not a drone anymore. You took the red pill. Right. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
I truly believe this is it, which actually brings now the question. Now that you know, right. So are you going back to the blue pill or are you staying with the red pill? And we had that question like jesting because it's the Matrix, but in a way I'm dead serious with this. It's like, understand something. You don't get to take the blue pill, paint it red, and then say, oh, it's a red pill. No, it's still blue.
I'm still in the club, right?
Yeah. You just painted it red. That's the difference. If you think you're going to introduce caffeine in the morning, just one espresso a day. I remember me, at the time when I started my No Fix November, was in October, I had no carbs, only one coffee a day.
Yeah.
No sugar, no drinks, only one coffee a day in the morning, first thing in the morning. Taking that, one is double espresso. Yeah. In the morning, that's what gave me the caffeine withdrawal, the headaches, the 5 days, like what the fuck is happening, all that stuff. The only thing I had to remove was one coffee a day. Make no mistake. If you put it back in, you're back on the blue pill.
Yeah.
And that's something that I get frustrated a little bit sometimes, and I'll explain where I think it comes from. That I see in general is like people think, well, it's a Chinese menu. It's like, I can do the No Fix November. I'll just pick the parts that I want and I'll keep the ones because this is what I want to do. I'm like, what you want to do and what you need to do are not the same thing. You don't get, if you want to do what you want to do what you want to do. How can I force you anyway? I didn't force anybody to do No Fix November. How could I? I didn't put a gun to your head. Yeah. It did work for a lot of you though, right? So, but that's the same thing. It's not a Chinese menu. You don't get to pick and choose what you want out of what we say, where the whole thing is a concept. Is either it's a truth or it's not. But you don't get to...
And I don't know if you're listening, guys, remember this too. I did not want to fucking do this.
Nope. He said,
Julian came over and said, fuck.
No.
And
he said no, by the way.
I just said, cool. I was like, I'm not doing it.
Yep.
I thought I was like, I'm not doing it.
Good luck for all of them.
I'm like, oh, it sounds like that's going to suck for them. And I wasn't going to do it. I owed it to everybody to do it so that at least if the people that are listening
that's
can
cool.
have it.
He had a gun to his head.
I had a gun to my own head. You guys held the gun to my head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I did it. But for me now, what I removed was essentially one espresso in the morning, early to mid morning, between 8 and 10. That's really it. I never had anything. And then booze was the other one, but that was probably twice a week. And then maybe like one heavy hitter once a month, you know what I mean? Or maybe twice a month in the summer.
Yeah.
And, so that level of frequency, and then one cheat meal a week, but which usually kind of coincided. It was kind of just lumped in on some beer and some pizza with the kid. But so now when I look at it now, I don't like I'll never, ever, ever do anything, but like the frequency of the cheat meals for me, once a week, I know is too tight in there. Yeah. It's too much. Yeah. Like it's got to be every month or something.
Once a month.
And I always thought that was okay. That, hey, I'm doing pretty good 90% of the time. Because you kind of are.
Exactly. And I think that is the way back to the blue pill. Yeah. Like it's that regret about doing something that just leads you back to it. So we had a few people going
you get comfortable with it then. And the things that you enjoy about it, you'll still enjoy. And then I believe you kind of soften your sensitivity to the things that it hurts you.
I think it goes, I believe it goes way past that. I believe those stimulants through the heart goes straight to, of course it goes to your brain, but it goes past that. It goes to who fundamentally you are as a person because of the testing team.
And that makes sense in what we're hearing from people. And just even and those words weren't words that I heard from anyone else first, or like I said those out loud to my wife before I even understood what I was saying. When I said, it feels like I got a piece of myself back.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about how you tie in the heart with the sense of self, coming from a hardware standpoint to then
even that alone
drive the heart, all of a sudden does change who you are, and it's not you doing it. It's this.
Right. So I do believe those things take a chunk out of what makes you you. Yeah. You have to understand, like, and I can explain again, but it's through the sympathetic, which is more reactive and all that stuff. But using simple words, like all the stuff that makes you you is already being deadened by, and I'll go into this on this podcast, by the world we live in. Mm-hmm. This is the last piece where literally, because it goes straight to the heart, you're taking a chunk out of, not your soul, but out of your identity. So if you're telling me, I'm just putting a coffee in, it's like understanding you are maiming part of your identity. Like, so this is called taking the blue pill. You don't get to say, yeah, but it's just a small part of my identity. You know what I mean? That is not how this works. And what did we see on the StrongFit community? People are like, oh, I'm going to keep the carbs or whatever. Those are all the people that cannot acknowledge that they are failing because of them and not an outside factor. I'm not calling you guys out, but what I'm saying for the carbs, for example, is I've seen a lot of people using the carb argument to, I need to have muscle and I need better performance in my training. Not once have they brought up the fact that maybe, just maybe, they don't train hard enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You notice those conversations? Mm-hmm. Every time he's like, yeah, but bodybuilders do this or people do that. And I'm like, but do you understand how hard they train? Like if you go train with Kai Green, you'll have fucking rhabdo. Yeah. Like you won't survive this. You don't understand what those guys, I met a few. If like people make fun of bodybuilding, it's because you never try, because you won't survive one of their workouts.
No. Just to tie in real quick, somebody was talking about, I think it was Kai Green, or maybe it was a Louis Simmons bit, but he was like, you talk about like, oh, I want to do what you do, which is the thing we've always talked about. Oh, what do you do to help me get so strong? It was a powerlifter at Westside. They said, show me how do you do what you do so I can get as strong like you. And Louis told him, he said, you need to be asking what he was doing 15 years ago. Because you can't jump into this, because even if relative to your percentage weight, you'll fucking die. Yeah. like this is not make it. The world that you live in. You need to ask what he did when he was at your level.
My Saturday sessions, I think literally one of them might land you in a hospital. I'm not kidding, because I had nights where I talk about this often, where I got into a bowl watching a movie and I could not unbend myself. Yeah. Like literally, it was such a freeze mode where I was like, I cannot move. Maybe some of you know what I'm talking about, but literally, I got to part like this where I would talk saying, I cannot move.
Yeah.
Like if I felt it, like my spine was like, do not move. There was an order telling me not to move, and I ended up saying like this, telling my ex Tatiana, it's like, no, I'll go to bed. I'll join you later. So I would stay there, fall asleep, wake up at 2 a.m. when I have enough energy to unbend myself and go up to sleep. And that happened like multiple times.
Yeah.
But if you're not prepared for that one, like you might actually fuck you up.
Yeah.
Like, but seriously.
And then so that's always the deal. People tend to come back to the,
right.
Like I need carbs, I need this, I need the caffeine. I want to keep it's like
maybe it's you.
And I always tell people though, if you can't do without the caffeine specifically, if you can't even do like if the thought of going a week or a month without something like makes you a little upset, like you probably might not have the best relationship with that thing.
No, but by the way, but this is like at the beginning of the No Fix November when we said take the carbs and the sugar out, and people were like, well, good luck enjoying your life. And I'm like, exactly. Like, isn't that strange that the first thing that you think was like, I will not enjoy my life if I don't have those things. Well, in that case, food.
And then we saw kind of the overcorrection too, where we saw people with No Fix November trying to almost remove joy from their lives.
Totally.
Which is like, I'm not going to
listen to music.
We're not going to do music. And of course, it's about trying to bring us and all that stuff. But what I get at with it is I was like, well, just stick with
it's punishment.
It's punishment, yeah.
It's punishment.
Yeah.
So it's deprivation. Yeah. So either people took it as you taking the fun out of my life, or great, I get to deprive myself.
Yeah.
Both are wrong.
Yeah.
Like and
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is it's like I'm gonna take the fun out of my life. That was some people are like, you're gonna take the fun out of your life. I'm out.
Yeah.
And the other people are like, I'll take all the fun out of my life.
Yeah, and almost like, I can't wait to do that. So and I'm like, that's another problem.
Both sides of those people.
You're all fucked up.
I was like, what are you guys doing?
But exactly. Like, you're fucked up. And then the guys were like, well, I still don't see my abs. And I'm like, but that was never the point.
No, we didn't
The point is to get your personality back.
Here's what makes you. If we're being fully honest, I trained twice in the last 6 days because I was doing shit.
I'm
like
so
building
fucking
shit.
sore.
Yeah, and,
my legs are still sore.
But for me, I only hit even 2 training days. Meaning, like, training was not my thing that whatever opened up for me, it wasn't a training angle at that moment.
All right, so that's one side. Let me talk about the other side of that. So right now, it's 5-6 days a week, massive training session. I am so sore. My legs are still fucked up. I did them 4 days ago.
Yeah.
I'm still like, oh my God, when I stand up and everything. So what I discovered through No Fix November is something in my training session. I realized I was doing 2 sets because the anxiety of doing the third set was getting to me. I always thought like it was just my body telling me to stop at 2 sets or whatever. And I realize now that the second set would fluster me.
Yeah.
Would be so, because I train hard, so would be so hard. The idea of doing a third would crush my sense of self, making me move to the next exercise. That's what I discovered.
Yeah.
And now I go, whether it's bodybuilding or strongman or whatever the fuck I do, I go to the gym and I'm like, no, it's 4 sets. And even knowing like, dude, that's not a good idea. Like after the third set, I'm like, no, but I said 4. And so I've been doing 4 exercises, 4 sets per exercise, 4 exercises per whatever that I do. And I did my sandbags carries. I'm going back to heavy ones, and I did 4 sets. Last time I quit on the second set.
Yeah.
This one I was like, no. And I finished all stuff, and I'm like, no, third, no fourth. So the next day, my glutes were so. But now it's been like that for, 4 weeks. I'm so fucking sore all the time. The amount of volume and strength that I'm generating in my training right now, I'm like, first of all, dude, like, do you enjoy hurting yourself? It's like, this is weird. Like, but I'm at the gym, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
4 exercise, 4 sets. And there's nothing anywhere, knowing what it's like, I'm so sore. My triceps are killing me. But there's nothing that is like, no, I said I was doing that. So now I talk to my body like I talk to my mind.
Yeah.
You know, like when I decide to learn or stuff like that, I'm like, no. There, learn, figure it out. Yeah. I talk to myself like this when it comes to figure stuff, like, do better. Okay. Like I scare myself into learning, I mean. But now I'm doing that to my body as well. It's like, no, this is not, no, you're not flustered. I don't care how you feel. You got 1 more set. You know, like that training partner that says, I don't care, do you do 1 more? This is literally what I am to me now. So, you know, the ego and the id, I mean, not to go into Freud, but that superposition of stuff, it's almost like I'm going toward there's a part of me that was not being expressed in words, but not in action. And that part of me took over, and now he's like, you're doing that. And I'm like, okay. but then I'm not the okay anymore. That's the weak part of me that is not me anymore. I'm the superior part talking down to whatever weakness needs to be shed. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing right now. I am shedding certain parts of myself.
When you started with the No Fix November, your transition is going to be a little blurrier than others because I think you were more strict for longer than most people. Before you just simply removed the caffeine for you when you decided to snap the finger, right?
But I'm also more aware.
But I still believe because of what you did there was you still had to have had the kind of energy, like the sleep, like the sleep portion of it.
Oh, it crushed me for 5 days.
Yeah. So I want to describe for people what this transition is going to. Generally, there has to be some sort of energy correction, whether it's your sleep or whatever. When you
so I'll explain what the correction happened because it happened at the protocol as well. Mm-hmm. So what I discovered is that I didn't want to have too much food during the day because whenever I had, it makes me sleepy and I don't like it anymore. So like my production during the day has tripled. So what I do now is I basically eat yogurt all day. Mm-hmm. That's my fat. Not even, because nothing too hard to digest. So just yogurt, just plain yogurt, no sugar, nothing, just all day like that. Yeah. And then I get my cream at night. So I get the cream before I go to bed. I wake up between 2 and 2:30 every single night. I come downstairs, I drink water, I get another cream. Mm-hmm. And then I wake up at 7, or sometimes I even wake up if I had 6, I have another cream, and then I wake up at 8. Yeah. So I get most of my cream now at night. Mm-hmm. Naturally, this is where I'm at. So I have the same dinners as before, and during the day, it's just yogurt. Yeah. It's the weirdest thing. So it had made me adjust something that I thought was very, fairly structured before. No. It has changed everything where now this is what's happening to me because during the day, it's fuck shit up time.
That had to happen though before then though, like that sleep correction from the protocol and from the thing. Yeah. You believe that? There's the order it went for me is that was going on. Nothing else was changing with me via the sense self or anything until that got squared away. I could feel it.
That's a good point.
I was tired in the day. I was asleep early. Yeah. I was waking up late.
But maybe it's a healing phase.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, I don't believe none of that is a bad thing.
Remember when when he wakes up,
yeah.
like they have to do the acupuncture. He's like, why can't I use my muscle? Because he never used them before.
Yeah.
I think he was that part in Nebuchadnezzar where you have to heal because you've been crushing a part of you for so long. It's never been used, and he had to heal and take over.
Yeah,
like plus, this is really what I felt. It's like that part was able to take over, but before you've been caging it.
And I don't even know that. I mean, well, I'm sure there's some sort of a like physical addiction symptoms in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's the headache on the caffeine stuff.
But I do believe, like with the caffeine, if you wake up and you feel tired, like you need a cup of coffee, right. like let's just pause it right there and say, maybe that's because you're tired. And whatever it is, you can't just keep doing the things that put you in that place. Cover it up, because that is the identical opposite, if you will, of taking a fucking sleeping pill to go to sleep, but not getting real sleep.
Right.
And it's exactly like, your eyes are closed and your lights are off, but
someone can choke you out. It'd be the same thing. Like that's not sleeping. By the way, that's an important part too, because, and this is where I think we have an issue with science. Not with science, the idea, the concept that is vital to the world today, but in a way, what culturally speaking, science has become. Capitalism has perverted science in a number of things. We've seen that in the opioid crisis and everything. But Ernest Becker, the American author, was talking about the Immortality Project, which is what the idea was that we cannot face death. As humans, this is our biggest problem, and we start to create immortality projects to allow us to deal with the idea of death. So that's why we like the heroes, because their deeds survive past them. So it's a way to immortality. Okay. So everything that humans do fundamentally is to create an immortality project so that they can take the idea that they're going to die, but something will survive. So that's where religion comes in.
All of this mattered, at least, because it will go on if I'm...
Exactly. Right. That's what he called the Immortality Project. So, and science is winning over religion, as it should, don't get me wrong. But after the age of reason, like, if you don't have religion, then where do you get your Immortality Project? And we're getting it through science. But so that in capitalism is starting to create certain issues. For example, the bad side of capitalism is always like selling you shit, even though, like, let's take the opioid crisis.
The things that you quote want but don't really want.
Right.
You know what
so
I mean?
Let's take the opioid crisis as an example, because I'll go back to the carbs and the caffeine. Right. What is the easiest way to manipulate people is to have 5 different people, some kind of influencer, saying one thing and repeating enough times, and it becomes a consensus. For example, when did the opioid crisis start? It didn't start a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever. It started where pain was classified as the 5th sign of health. That happened in the 80s, 90s, whatever it was. But doctors, like they have the markers of health. Yep. They listed pain as a 5th. Guess why they did that? Because the pharmaceutical industry pushed. Yeah. How do they do that? They send sales reps with studies. Those studies were funded by the pharmaceutical industry, and they have top doctors that will write that. So those doctors don't exactly lie, but they take numbers in a very specific context. Yeah. Then they take it out of it, and then they take the context out and say, see, do it like that. It's like saying carbs is the easiest way to get the glucose in. Yeah, yes, that's true, but easiest is not best. Yeah. But if you can just change easiest to best, it's like carbs is the best way to get glucose. Yeah, compared to this, that takes long, but you just take that out, and before you know it, you get 10 people, 10 athletes, 10 nutritionists who say carbs is the best way to get glucose, and we need glucose, done. And now you get all of them to repeat it enough times, it becomes a truth. It's actually Nietzsche who said truth are just illusions that we forgot were illusions. It's exactly that, right? So that's what the opioid crisis started. That's what the sales rep, the pharmaceutical industry came to doctors and said, look, they had a study that they start to show that I think was OxyContin, saying that less than 1% of people would get addicted to it, where the actual number is 20 to 25%.
That's crazy.
Yeah, stuff like that. But because it was probably in a very, very specific context. So the doctor could say he didn't lie.
Well, and if you look at people you know who are general practitioners, family doctors, what their day-to-day life is in the practice is busy. You're seeing so many patients per hour, and boom, pharmaceutical rep was there having to get you up to speed on all this new shit. Sure. This is this.
I'm not letting them off the hook.
Well, no, I agree.
Yeah.
But what I do mean is this is like I said, there is a system that exists.
If let's say the entire system, because that's what happened, the medical system said pain is the fifth marker. Because now it becomes official policy.
Yes,
right. And you're a doctor and your lower back hurts. I can't send you to a trainer. I don't know any. Mm-hmm. I can't send you to a nutritionist. I don't know any. And by the way, I got 30 minutes with you. I don't know nutrition. I don't know training. What I do have
is a thing that's the thing.
Is the only thing that was given to me, which is a pill.
Yeah. Plus, if you look at, how do I word this? If you take once you start looking at things that this thing is a solution for this, that's not a new concept for us, that like a pill fixing a thing is not fixing the thing, but like that is kind of the framework that's inside all of that.
Objective-based mentality.
And so once that is the culture, I don't know if I talked about this, but like if you go to the doctor and you're overweight and you have heart problems, your doctor, and I've talked to friends who are doctors who say they will basically most doctors won't even bother trying to tell you about lifestyle or nutrition or exercise. The truth is, because in America, you're not going to fucking do it anyways, for one. And two, if I come in and I tell you to eat better and to live right, and I have access to a pill that will reduce that number, that is the problem number in the system that we devise, I can and you have a heart attack in 2 weeks, like that doctor all of a sudden there can be malpractice. I saw you for problems with my heart and you didn't give me anything. And so then the whole system starts to feed that fucking dysfunction. And then like anything, a misaligned wheel isn't a big deal at 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But if you're going 80 miles an hour, fucking shit starts happening. And now you've got bodies in morgues and people in jail.
And then now we have the United States who's on the brink of bankruptcy, when the healthcare crisis hits, and it will hit.
Yeah.
That I don't know which one hits first, the healthcare crisis or the food industry crisis first. My guess is the healthcare.
Federal Reserve, right here.
Social Security. But this is how we get the system in place now, where millions of people are dying, more will die. Like 100 million of people within 5 years will get diabetes, which is insane.
Yeah.
This is how we get there, though. So this is the easiest way to manipulate people. You get some people to start saying something which is demonstrably not true, but not entirely wrong either, so they can kind of defend it.
It's like correlatively connected. So like nobody thinks past that.
The problem is they're taking away the context.
Yeah.
And so they take away the context and then they generalize everything. We have the same conversation on the StrongFit community. Yeah, but natural bodybuilders use carbs. Yes, but by the way, maybe they know how to do bodybuilding because they've been doing it for so long. There's so much of the context that's been taken out in order to make the conversation simple. But that conversation does not become simple anymore. It becomes simplistic, which is not the same thing, which is what I'm trying to explain all the time. There's a difference between simple and simplistic. This is why I quoted Einstein, who said, make everything as simple as possible, but no simpler. This is the problem now. So we are trying, when it comes to the human body, to make things past simple into simplistic. Why? Because it's easier to sell. Because once you can come up with a simple formula like E equals MC squared, it's flashy. If you get enough people to repeat it, it becomes a truth. Mm-hmm. And through that, I can sell something. Yeah. You see that with shoes. Right. Everybody knows that those fucking shoes that Nike started, fucked up. What? We had two generations of athletes, of runners and everything. We know that, and yet they keep selling it at $150 a pop, and you keep having those studies showing that those shoes are this, where we know through the true testing that shit has fucked up two generations, has fucked up people around the world for 60 years now.
What I think that's important to say, like what you just mentioned about the perils of oversimplification.
Yes.
That is exactly the way, when we talk about No Fix November, that people are looking at their caffeine and their carbs. It's like, it is not indifferent than a doctor oversimplifying all the things that go into high blood pressure by saying, statin medication here,
done,
here. And it's like, I'm tired. This is my energy juice. And don't ask any further questions because you're going to be challenged because you don't have you don't want to know the context or have to take ownership of everything that surrounds that.
So let's go over why I think is oversimplified. That's why when you say you're going to put the caffeine back in, not you, just guys out there, like understand, you're back on the blue pill. Like understand what those things do. Like, so a lot of it comes down, for example, in the case of caffeine, I believe goes through the heart to the sense of self. But the heart, as I explained, is its own brain. And there's a lot of data that comes from the body that is part of your sense of self. If you have been following the podcast, you know that for me, the brain is actually just a prediction machine. It's not your sense of consciousness of it does not come from the brain. Actually, it's actually an ascending feeling coming from the viscera. So you got the enteric nervous system, the gut, the heart, all that stuff going up, and there's a play between your entire peripheral nervous system, all those connections everywhere, going through the viscera, so the gut, the heart, to the brain, and back, and stuff like that. So we've done different podcasts on the subject, right? But if we talk blue pill, what the Matrix wants us in, it is numbing your sense of self. How does it do it? So for example, No Fix November, the caffeine, the stimulants are one way to numb you. But look at your senses. So that's one. Have you noticed once on No Fix November, your taste is changing on the protocol? Your taste changes completely. Right, so that's one. Right? What else do we have? We have the sense of touch, for example. So sense of touch, like, for example, we have like the neoprene that showed you that you can actually go toward fight versus not having the touch. So that's another way where, how would you numb, for example, through the sense of touch, where you could have wear shoes that makes the bottom, especially toward the inside here, where most proprioception happen, which means internal torque and all that stuff happens toward the inside of the foot, where external torque is on the outside. We could have shoes that have a bump that basically make us step on the outside of the foot, which is toward external torque, which is more toward the sympathetic, which is back to the same thing as a stimulant. So if you walk on the outside of your foot like that all the time, you are deadening the feeling that you get through proprioception. That ascending feeling is directly linked to your sense of self. I got the studies for that one as well. So
don't look at my shoes.
No, but you know what I mean? Like look at
totally. Yeah.
The shoes take away completely proprioception of the foot. You are stepping on the outside of your foot continuously toward the heel where you have no feeling. The feeling is here.
And that because you're kind of just deadening the experiences, you're not getting the feedback that corrects that behavior.
Right, and everything is feedback. That feedback loop is where your identity is. Like, so that's why also like the oversimplification is people think their identity, it's all in the brain, because that's how we've been explained. But that's not true. Like the studies that I was showing you, like, no, your sense of identity comes from the heart going up, comes from ascending feelings to the vagus nerve. Guess what? Proprioception is part of that.
Yeah.
So you have all those senses that are being deadened. Vision, electric light, all the time. You're not outside looking at the sky. You can't see stars anymore. Yeah. When was the last time you actually looked up?
Most of us live in essentially the cave visually from a point of view, from a depth of perception.
Exactly. And by the way, focusing yourself directly on a small spot, that's the sympathetic stuff as well. So when you're in that fucking phone that is small, completely like this, focusing on a very small stuff, forcing your senses to become very acutely aware of what you're focusing. You're creating another sympathetic reaction. So you are living continuously toward the deadening of your identity through sympathetic reaction continuously, which by the way create low-grade inflammation, which is another problem. But right, so you see that when it comes to, for example, the feet, like you're never creating the proprioception. All right, taste, same thing. Touch, that's why the neoprene and the ice bath work so much, because suddenly you're starting to feel again and you have to control, you have to know where you are and control yourself, right? And then you got, for example, let's talk about hearing, because that's going to come to what we call Disney December, and that's what everybody's going to be doing for months. So there's something called the Safe and Sound Protocol that was developed by Dr. Porges. Dr. Porges is the one of the polyvagal theory that I talk about all the time, and the one who gave us HRB, literally. He has a Safe and Sound protocol, which is the same idea as everything else, which means we know that through studying it, that, for example, high-frequency sounds promote safety. Why? Because low frequency promotes the sympathetic side of things, right? We know that. So the sympathetic system, low frequency is like a rumble,
Yeah.
a low sound where you go like the bear is coming. That promotes not fear necessarily, but a sense of danger.
Yeah.
Danger is not always fear.
Alertness would be the term I would use.
But why are you alert? Because the sympathetic is kicking in.
Yeah.
Right, so that constant alertness means danger. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it does mean I need to be alert because a danger might be coming, right? And by the way, we get very addicted to that because it feels awesome to be alert because now suddenly you don't have to feel you just feel the world.
Yeah.
Right, so if you don't want to look inside, you just look outside all the time. How do you look outside all the time? You stay toward the sympathetic trigger. The easiest way to not look in...
And you have to, though, use a trigger as opposed to just finding that...
Right.
Because you're not... You can't make the boom that's going to alert you. You can't... But you can
that with
hammer
food.
a coffee and eat some
right,
food.
Exactly,
and,
right.
Yeah.
But let's say in case of a trauma, though, like early enough, 6, 8 or whatever, where suddenly... Everything is a percentage, right? So high frequency, but how high versus... But if you had trauma, you basically set that stuff way lower, which means any sound, it's basically trigger an idea of danger.
So you're we'll call it kind of the bar, raising and lowering.
Exactly.
You're
Trauma will change that.
You're basically changing the threshold for which things that wouldn't normally, just from a hearing standpoint, frequencies that normally wouldn't cause a state of alertness, all of a sudden do.
No, it does. By the way, if you were bent on not looking inside, then you would find a way to get yourself scared of any sound. You would train yourself slowly but surely over time to be scared of any sound. So you can change your bar yourself through practice.
It's a way to almost like figuratively just like back yourself into the cave, shut the lights off. And,
No, I'll go the other way. Or I don't want to look inside, so I'm going to create a sympathetic reaction.
Correct. But it is physically in the world, this cave, but for you, it's fucking madness.
Yeah, exactly. Because, why? Because you don't want to look inside, so therefore you're continuously looking outside. How do you do that? By creating a sympathetic trigger. So what kind of sympathetic trigger? For example, walking on the outside of your feet. While having low intensity, what you gauge is more toward danger sound continuously or stuff like that. This is how your identity gets chopped off on a daily basis. You have food, and you have stuff like that. So let's talk about the sound stuff, because again, Disney December. So what if we could reset that low-high frequency ratio, so you'll stop being in a sense of danger all the time, but now start to go towards safety. That's a safe and sound protocol by Dr. Porges. So the idea is to have, high frequency sound. What's a high frequency sound? It's simple. For example, it's a Disney princesses songs. In the Disney princess, not just Disney princesses. If you have ever looked into this, they actually require the singers to have a 3-octave range and stuff like that, because they need that frequency, because it's a very specific thing that promotes safety.
Which is exactly what you want if you're trying to speak to children, toddlers, who you want to make their parents watch that movie 8 times back to back to back.
Exactly, right. But can we take that further? Because now that takes us into the active meditation. The idea of the high frequency sound is to promote safety, a parasympathetic response. I'm like, all right, I know how to do that from a movement perspective, though.
Yeah.
I can have nasal breathing during movement. But then what would I do? But how about we used what we talked about toward the parasympathetic and then the base, which is the VO2 max training. Right? The VO2 max training, so that active meditation can help us basically cool down from, not producing lactate, but being able to use lactate. I'm like, all right, so let's combine all this together. So what do you have? You have 40 to 60 minutes of very slow cardiovascular work. So it's not even cardio, honestly, it's just basically running.
Even call it work. Yeah.
No, it's not RPE of rate of perceived exertion of 2, maybe 3, right? So, and basically you stay within nasal breathing all the time, 40 to 60 minutes. And what you're going to do is you're going to listen to the Disney princesses songs. I have on my phone, I have my playlist that I'm willing to share with everybody. I won't lie, Let It Go is my favorite. I like Moana a lot, but after that I'll go with Cinderella, Snow White, like the old school.
Do any of them beats slap hard or anything? Is there some sort of
No. No, I'm not kidding. I get that for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I put it on, and then this is how I do my active meditation. So for the month of December, it's going to be everybody 40 minutes to an hour of Disney princesses song, high frequency, basically sounds through those songs. while being all nasal breathing, while doing the active meditation. And you will see what it brings to you mentally on top of the No Fix November.
If you did, actually the fact is you did tell me this, that we were going to do this.
That's serious.
You told me this by about week 1 or 2 into No Fix November, before things kind of blew open for me.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, well, that'll be neat for you guys to do again. And now I just fucking know better than to not do it. So but I really don't want to. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Okay. In the thing, is there like a frequency that is just kind of like generally above this that we know that is the thing?
Don't worry about it.
I'd just like to find not those songs.
Exactly. No. You're doing those songs. And what you're going to discover, because I've been playing with it for 1 hour, which is very interesting. You know when you go too fast on the VO2 max training, I figure it out. That's when intrusive thoughts come about. Intrusive thoughts, do you remember I sent you that from the heart?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's when you switch to sympathetic. There is an entire thing where they can show that even through HRV, where that moment where intrusive thoughts starts to come in, basically is a loss of cognition. That's because you're going toward the sympathetic side. That's your switch. And again, it goes back to your loss of identity is your loss of cognition, has to do with the heart. All that stuff is fascinating, but basically you'll know you're going too far when your thoughts, when you start to have intrusive thoughts coming like, oh, I'm supposed to do this tomorrow, or like, me was always like, I'm going to kill someone. I'm going to fuck up that guy. that means you're going too hard.
Yeah.
So that's the key is nasal breathing, and your mind should be a blanket of presentness, where you're just in the present with no intrusive thoughts, with just you. Not planning anything, just there, and get the high frequency sound. It will promote you not being toward intrusive thoughts. It is the most fascinating. Imagine what you could have with your brain in a safe place, letting go of all the stuff that keeps bombarding you for an hour.
So let it go. I like that.
Yeah, good. Pun is intended. Still my favorite. Imagine what you could do with an hour of that a day.
Yeah.
Where your brain is not being assaulted continuously. What we're going to do is 1 month at a time, we're going to reset all senses. We've done the taste and all that stuff. Nasal breathing, that'll be part of the sense of smell, right? We'll have the touch, neoprene, ice bath, and then the proprioception. Yep. And right now we're going to go at the hearing, where we're going to reset your level of what danger is by creating high frequency sound and allowing your brain to be in a still place that is safe for an hour. And we're going to promote that through not just sound, but movement as well, with nasal breathing and all that stuff. Yeah. And that should bring the highest flow that you can have. Imagine that's true meditation, like pushed to the physical level. Imagine what you could do that with an hour a day, where your brain is off, is not being assaulted.
The term that you use, highest flow, was interesting because I wanted to circle back around to this point because I wanted your opinion on this, because I've thought about this for the last week or so. Is when I was brainstorming and doing all sorts of shit and just being everywhere this week, I noticed very clearly that I was like, it was the most intense state of flow, like real flow, to where but peaked, not just like, man, flowing really good. It's just like all like right on the fucking edge, right? Where it's like, holy shit, but we are going here. That I haven't felt since like, higher stakes competing at sports. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like shit, like, hitting a game-winning shot. It's like, I'm literally having that experience. Like, all right, what do we do with this? I don't like where this is a solution. Boom. And that is like game-winning shot level. Fuck yes. Next. Boom. And it is go. And I don't know how to place that.
Right. But that's the key though, is I need you to recover from that.
Yeah.
So it's the arch from both sides.
Yeah. Like
that top there, which means the simple goes in like everything because it's during the day.
Yeah.
I need to basically make you recover.
We got to pull down just as far.
Okay. Right. So it goes back in a way to circadian rhythms. The ways to circadian rhythm is food, light, and social behavior, actually, social interaction. So during the day, you're just like all in. That's the fight at the highest mode, but that's the flow under pressure so it's more like fight under flow. Whereas this one, I'm going to promote flow under pressure. It's Mike and John. John is at his strongest during the day for you right now.
Yeah.
But I need Mike to be strong as well. And that's how I'm going to train Mike. Mike has to be trained with that flow like that. And so it's going to be all nasal breathing, but with the high frequency sounds.
And it's interesting if you when you put it like that too, is it feels like then at that point, that is kind of how you gain it. So I have this, like all this chaos that works and it's enjoyable, but maybe at that is not going to can't exist like that forever. No. Without a crash or something.
You'll crash. Yeah. You'll crash and that'd be a shame.
And actually, I told my wife, I was like, this is either really good or I'm going to go crazy.
Welcome to my life, by the way. But this is what at times I need to recover.
And that was the reason I wanted to ask you about this, because I was like, I have all of this new energy and ideas of productivity. The question is, how do I get like hone it and tune it? And that is the key, is we need to balance the other side of that.
Yeah, you need enough time to be able to hone it, because that much energy at you at first is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Me, like I crashed a little bit for a couple of days because I just realized I didn't drink water for like 4 or 5 days. Yeah. That actually impacted my cognition levels a lot. I saw that on my HRV going down because I'm trying the raw ring because I was curious about the sleep.
Yeah.
And it actually impacted my cognition last week. And because then now I realize I actually didn't drink, but I've always been bad with that. Anyway, you need time to hone those skills, but you need time at that level, because then the homeostasis will kick in, and then you'll find that level normal, and you'll want to go to the next one, which is the point always, right? But to do that, I need you to recover, and I need Mike to be just as strong as John.
Yeah.
So we need to train Mike, and how are we going to train Mike? We're going to train it by doing the active meditation. With nasal breathing and high frequency
so good until you say Disney princesses.
Yeah, Disney princess songs. That's a high frequency sound.
I love it. No, that's good.
It works so well. Like, I don't think for an hour. Like, I'm just on there. Like, whether it's running or elliptical, I'm just like...
So it really isn't self-reflection, if you will. It is just trying to keep emptiness there.
Which I find very interesting, because I'm starting to understand...
The self is that empty observation of the peripherals.
Just being.
But just being there. Yeah.
Just being. For once, you will be. That's like, remember what I was talking about, like on the 6th day of the No Fix November? For me, when I sat here and for 20 minutes did nothing, I was just there. Right, it's a little bit that, where your mind suddenly is just there. I think that's where the runner high comes from.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed that with endurance athletes, they're able to shut off their mind for hours at a time in a way that no strength athlete can do for 20 minutes.
And think about when we do things like what we do for work, where we're always kind of planning, building something. It's up, got to solve everything, and I think clarity is really important, because you can see everything through this cloudy vision of all this shit that you're letting be in the front of your mind, if you will, and then you're not going to have that breakthrough on the thing you're working on. You remove all of that, you begin to see things for what they really are. Yep. And this was the thing that I noticed, a lot of stuff I was working on this week, was those solutions were painfully fucking obvious.
Right, to the point where you go like, how come I didn't do it before? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know,
I have those moments all the time.
You're like, God damn it.
I mean, think of it,
how have we been sitting on this for however long? You know what I mean?
It was right there. Yeah, exactly, right.
This it took a week, and it's like, we need to go.
But that clarity, right, cannot be impacted by anything.
And that's when we talk about the red pill and the blue pill, is it's like, do you understand what the cost is?
Right.
Because I know now what I'm capable of, not just from doing, but I mean thinking.
But this is what I've been looking for this my entire life, because my obsession, me, is getting better. And I knew there was parts of me not clicking, not joining. And I'm like, but this is not what I want. So I've been at times being able to force myself into that where you are right now, that stage of, okay, let's get my brain working. But it's exhausting, because I'm fighting literally something which I did not understand what it was, but that was taking away that capacity that I have to work at such a high percentage, where I'm like hyper-focused and everything. This is mostly what I'm at, but I've always been fighting a part of me in that. And I realize now that the part of me was the fucked up signals I was getting from either sugar or caffeine.
Yeah.
Because I've never been without both. Yeah. I was either caffeine or sugar. I'd stop sugar, but then I had caffeine, or I would stop caffeine, but then I had sugar.
I think until this month, I don't think I was ever without even one of the 3 or 4 things that we had to remove from this list.
Well, if you look at sugar, like France chocolate, so I started as a kid, so 40 years of sugar or caffeine or both.
Yeah.
And carbs, obviously. So I've never been without it, but then suddenly I work at the level I want to work. And fuck me, am I smarter? So am I gonna, and then I think you hit the nail on that one. Are you willing to compromise any of this?
Because this is, we've had people too throughout the No Fix November who have said, hey, I've been doing the protocol for a while and I haven't had carbs for a few years really. I don't have carbs that much. I'm not a big drinker and I only had a little bit of caffeine here and there. So I removed that and I was like, I haven't had any major thing. And I want to ask that person, I want to look at them and I want to be like, so you feel like this all the time?
Yeah, exactly. Good for you. Yeah, good. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Then you're being yourself.
And the question I want to ask, like, well, do you feel? That's always, how do you feel, right? Yeah, really. But it's like, do you feel good?
Yeah.
Because I think that should be undeniable.
But that's.
And if the answer is no, then I don't know that I'm getting
maybe. But remember, we are strength athletes. Our stuff, us, is to push the other side as much as, and that's what we've been always doing, game-winning shot and everything. It's always the peaks.
So
we are masters of peaks.
Yeah.
What we cannot have is raising the valleys, raising the C game. But endurance athletes, that's all they do. They raise the valleys. The problem is they have no peaks. Gotcha. So those people, I think, need to be pushed the other way, which means, but you can't train. Not like I do.
Yeah.
And so it takes you being able to train till literally you go like, do we need to call the hospital?
Okay.
But so Mike and John, their Mike is strong, John is weak.
Yeah.
Or John is super strong, but Mike was weak.
Yeah.
And so now that Mike is going up, the fucking arch is going through the roof.
Yeah.
Theirs, we just reinforce Mike. And they're like,
That's I'm glad I brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what they need them is what is coming next, which means which will come in January. Which will be, we're going to go the other way, which means we're going to build up John. Yeah. We're going to fuck some people up. He's going to be, burn the question, January, nasty West. And that stuff, I'm like, it'll make no difference whatsoever because you can't do to me worse in January than I'm doing to myself right now.
My thing with those, if I get the opportunity to do it, is like, I'm done in fucking 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I might do 2 things.
The difference now is I'll do 3 sets of each instead of 1.
Well, I mean, like,
and then I'll fucking die.
I'm not there yet.
But I'm at the stage where I can tell you that I could take the sessions that I was doing like that and double the sets. I can set up 1 set at 200 meters. I would do 2 right now because there is nothing where I'm like, no, 1 more. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I am obedient to me now instead of to the system.
Yeah.
Which is what I've always been looking for.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I felt too, I felt it was for the first time I was able to work as myself.
Exactly.
I was able to do the things I was always told that's not how you work. It's not how you work. It's not how you're supposed to work. You can't do you're doing it wrong.
But there is no compromising on this. This is what I want you guys to understand. Like, it's not about food. It's about the signals that you send when you absorb food. And those signals go straight to the heart. You have no control between those two. It's your brain is not the problem.
And I think for people that go back in the beginning, was episode 15, 17, the first nutrition one?
What the fuck
6, 7, I don't even know anymore. Okay. But like the first nutrition ones that we put out, I erred on the side of, what's the word I'm looking for? Of long-term adherence in some of the advice I was adopting for myself and giving at that time. In that I was like, 80-20 the shit. I burn every Sunday.
Stay on it. Do what you got to do to stay on it. Yeah. Which is true too.
Which is true. But what happened is the 80-20 thing, like that bit of it, it's still when we're talking about clarity and long-term trends, you can't fucking handicap yourself every Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. And then because the price to be paid isn't just, it's not a hangover. It's like that you don't get right until 4 or 5 days later.
And again, at some point, we need to have the conversation, blue pill, red pill. You need to understand, like, by the way, you want to be blue pill? Have at it. Just, you don't get to say, like, everybody loves the Matrix, right? Everybody in their mind say, I would choose a red pill. All right? Now you can.
Yeah.
Now you have a choice. Which one you're going to go with? But you don't have to tell me anything. Don't answer. That's not, answer yourself, not me. Like, I can't make you do anything. And at the end, it's not my problem anyway. It's your choice. But make no difference. If you start fucking up with those ascending signals, you don't get to control with this. So the second you start doing certain things where, you shut off you get low frequency sounds, you get the improper proprioception, you get stimulants, all of those will take a chunk out of your identity. Those are blue pills. That is the way this works. I'm sorry. So me, I know what I'm going to do. So, and me, being me, I'm like, no more. No sugar, no coffee, no carbs, zero. I'm still, so it's been 2 months.
Yeah.
And even though I've been called fat, I'm still leaner.
And misunderstanding.
Yeah, exactly. But you should see my training sessions now are like the other day was like, because I was so sore, like I was trying to play the Witcher, which is a good game, Witcher 3. It's a good game. And I'm on the ground going like, shit, I got to stand up now. Do I really want to pee that bad? Like my legs were so sore. Well, I'm like, dude, are you trying to hurt yourself? Like, are you enjoying being that sore? But at the same time, I was like, no, but I don't care because I said 4 sets. That's literally conversation in my head. Like my training sessions right now are absurd, but I feel like at 46, I've reached, or at least I'm seeing the road that I've been looking for, that I wanted to be on. There's no destination, but I'm finally on the road that I've been wanting to take forever.
For me, it was about feeling like I'm just moving, because sometimes because when the way you frame it is like you're just sitting there doing the work is like well, yeah, that's work I want to be doing still, like not just the work I was doing this week, but the work I've always been doing because it's the work I choose. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's always parts of it that are ditch digging. There's parts of your life that are still where it's like, oh, I gotta do. No one likes washing the dishes or fucking, you know what I mean? So there's all of those things. But what I found as I was going through is that I just think that it is much more me. It's my way. And like, I'm now just moving forward, which means now I can manage those things that I would have been doing before and for a while now differently and confidently, just being like, listen, I can do this my way now and it'll be better for me having done it.
Marcus Aurelius actually said like the difference between men and boys, I'm paraphrasing, but that boys do what they have to do, whereas men do what they choose to do. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. So yeah, I'll do the dishes because I choose to. Yeah. Not because I have to. That's the difference. So now I'm like, there's a gap between what needs to be done and, you know, like the whole, all that stuff. Yeah. There's a gap now where how I feel about something is different from what needs to be done. And whereas before I related the two.
If we're being honest, that thing you did with something has to be done, you go, ugh. Yeah. I'm dead serious. That encapsulates almost every task that I do via some sort of obligation, you know, that just I do regularly as a, only because it's something that only because sometimes it just has to be done. Not that I don't want to do it. It's that it has to be done. And I'm like, well, fuck you. What if I don't?
Exactly, right. Exactly. What if I don't want to?
And so, but I think it feels good to be just moving now. I feel like I can just keep figuring things out as we go.
I'm starting to understand what discipline means. Yeah. Because God knows. I had my own type of discipline, but
it's people get that so fucking confused. Like it's doing shit that you hate to do.
Yeah, it's not. And the problem is hurting yourself.
But the people who I believe actually preach discipline and have discipline, they don't have the discipline in the way it's being interpreted by people, which is like those. Look at your Jocko Willings. Jocko does not mind getting up at 3:30 in the morning and training and crushing his shit at 3 a.m. He loves it. You getting up at 3 a.m, slogging out of fucking bed, going like, oh, Jocko says discipline is freedom, and it's like, well, buddy,
not that.
That ain't it, man.
Yeah, that is. Like, and plus, you're missing the point where he loves it.
I have gotten up out of my bed and jumped right into our projects for the last 7 days straight. Yeah, like boom. Going.
That's why you see why I text you at 7 a.m. Yeah. Because if I'm here, I'm like, it's on now.
There was a couple times about 11 o'clock. I'm like, Julian's in bed. And I can't solve this via messages anyways, so...
But I'm going to send it anyway.
Well, no, I was like...
He'll see it in the morning.
Do I just tell him that he has to call me now? And I don't tell him that it's not really important. Yeah. He might just think that it's really important, but it's just a little important. And so, but that's the level of like this, and when you talk about doing, because... It's like, this needs to be solved now. I need to know where to go, where to do this. Like, exactly. Boom, 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 boom.
But so now you see, when I have something, it's like he has to come out. Because I'm like, it's not going to stay up there. It doesn't do any good up there.
I can move right away from it, too.
Yeah, no, but plus he has to start. Now you start to see why I start shit. I was like, but it's a good idea we're doing now. Yeah. You know, see what I mean? So that's why I do it, because he has to start. Because once he starts, he can progress. But if you don't start the stuff, it never goes anywhere. Yeah. Because there has to have a material representation of it. Yeah. Otherwise, nothing ever gets done. And that's part of who you are as a person.
Yeah. So what you need to start, if you're listening and watching, is 30 days at a minimum, whole month of December.
But a real minimum. Like don't put a coffee back every 4 days. Don't do it like the old or 80-20. No. If you do it, really do it. But commit mentally to it.
And for the month of December, we have
active
meditation
with nasal breathing. Slow. If you start to have intrusive thoughts, that means you're going too fast. So slow it down, right? While listening to high frequency sound. In that case, the Disney princesses songs, Cinderella, Snow White, all that stuff. Those voices are gorgeous, by the way. And I kid you not, those are like, look at the old school stuff.
Yeah.
Look again, Cinderella and Snow White, man. Yeah, I swear, you'll see what I mean. Those are beautiful voices.
So you have
December.
You have Disney your marching order for December. Disney December.
That's coming up on Wednesday too.
Yeah, that's when I got to edit tomorrow. Yeah. Thanks. So, hey, it's in the order though. I'm good. Exactly. I'm like, at least this one, I know we're good. That's got a spot wrapped up.
Yep.
All right. So strongfit.com, strongfitequipment.com,
more coming
strongfitequipment.eu. We've got not yet. Support the podcast at support.podcast.com. Follow Julian at StrongFit1, me at Tyler Effin Stone, UK32, Rare Barracuda. Julian'sCorner.com is a place for all things Julian. We also have...
And we have big stuff coming up.
Big stuff coming up soon.
Yep.
I'm kind of excited. Big stuff for you guys coming up soon.
2020.
So, yep. So 2020, I think, is going to be a big year.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a big year for you guys listening and watching. So thanks a lot, and we will see you next week. Don't forget to go to Manta Fitness if you're in Australia, if you want sandbags.
There you go.
I nailed that at the end. Yeah. All right, thanks. We'll see you later.
Everybody.
No, we're not saying.
Okay. With Princess, it'd be funny. But yeah, that sounds like a gay porn movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I could be... I'm not wrong. It's a category in straight porn too. It's okay.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I'm fine. I was like, I could. Oh my God. I could be wrong, but it's like, I know I'm right.
Oh my God. Yeah. Thank God.
Okay. I think we're good.